Today we're comparing one of my favorite lights, the Aputure 600X, with the GVM 650B. Now, GVM sent me this light to do this comparison, but this is something I would do anyway. So I'm pretty excited to see how they stack up because there's not a ton of difference, but at the same time, there's a ton of difference. The biggest being that this light, the 650B, is on paper brighter, but it's also less than half the price of the 600X. So let's find out if it's actually worth half or it's punching above its weight class. Let's go over a couple quick tech specs for the lights. Now they're both bicolor. They both have basically the same range when it comes to color temperature. They both are chip on board LED lights and they both have a Bowens mount. The build quality for both these lights is the same, except with the Aputure you get waterproofing. So if you're gonna be using your light outside, you may sway towards the 600X because you can leave it out in the rain, snow, a bunch of conditions that you can't with the 650B. On paper, the 650B has 50 watts more power. And if that's something that appeals to you, because more power is usually better, then you're gonna sway to the 650B. Both these lights have a similar CRI, with the 650B coming in at 1 higher. So the light quality is technically better, but we'll see in a real world test shortly if that actually applies. Both the lights come in the same case, same basically everything, except there's one big difference between the both. And that's that the Aputure 600X is significantly more expensive than the 650B, coming in at almost double the price currently. On B&H right now, during filming this, it's $1,990 US for the Aputure 600X and $849 for the 650B. Now the 600X has a lot more going for it, like waterproofing and a few more control features, but realistically, these lights are very, very similar. If you just need a bright, powerful light for indoor interviews or studio setups, both these lights would be great, but depending on your budget, you may want to go to the 650B. Realistically, both these lights do the exact same thing. They're both 600 watts plus of power. They have great light scores, but for me, it's more about ease of use and how they would fit into my workflow. First, let's talk about what you get in each kit. 600X case, GVM case. You'll notice the 600X case is a lot bigger than the GVM case. The 600X also weighs a lot more than the GVM. So depending on your needs, keep that in mind. Now the cases are the same, but the 600X is way, way better built. It has a top handle, it has reinforcement in the corners, and it has wheels and a handle so you can drag it. GVM has nothing. All it has is this one strap where you can pick up the whole unit at once. And it's heavy enough that it's obnoxious, and the size of it makes it kind of a pain. I'd much rather have this case. So that's a point for the Aputure 600X. They both open nicely. They both have their lights, reflectors, power cables, control boxes, and then the little clamp. They both have the same clamp and it connects to your light stands, and then the control boxes click in. You can also put them on the floor, so they're both the same. The Aputure 600 control box is much heavier than the smaller GVM control box, but the 600X control box is waterproof, so you can keep this outside in the rain along with the light and not worry about it. This one you can't bring in the rain, so some of the price difference goes to waterproofing. Now you get the same amount of connections in the bottom, 4 on the bottom, and they're the same. They have the same relative controls. I feel like the control box for the 600 is metal. It's metal too. They're very, very, very similar. So no big deal there. You both get the light and reflector. So the 650B has the light in the back like this, and the reflector rests in the yoke of the light. Both reflectors are the same. 600X fits in the front like this, and that's your cases. That's what you get with these lights. Very similar. Not either one's a deal breaker. I just prefer the 600X case, but inside, the guts are the same. Having a bright light is one of the best things you can add to your kit. It gives you that extra punch when you need it, and then you can turn it down to almost nothing when you absolutely don't need it. Now, I love having the 600X in my kit. It's the light I bring every single time because I'd rather have too much power than not enough. I do have a variety of lights and I don't use it all the time, but 9 times out of 10, it's in the car with me and it's ready to go. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set up both lights in this exact scenario. So I'm gonna have a key light to my right off camera, about 45 degrees over, 45 degrees down. I'm gonna set the light to 5600 Kelvin. Then I'm gonna balance the camera's white balance to a white card that I have behind me here. So everything in the setup remains the same except the lights will change. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna expose for just under 60 IRE for both, and then I'm gonna see what the differences are, if the camera's balanced the same, if it looks the same, and how much power each light uses. Currently, I'm using the Aputure 600X because I know how to set that up. That's my go-to, the same way I do it every time. There shouldn't be a huge difference at this point because the exposure should be relatively the same because we're in a controlled environment. I'm gonna switch over now to the 650B and get my exposure and see if there's a huge difference in light when I get to the edit. Okay, now we're on to the GVM 650B. Everything's set up the same, except there's a few differences when it comes to specs. So the GVM is at 1% and a bit less power, which makes sense because the light is 50 watts more than the 600X. Not a huge deal at all. That wouldn't be a deal breaker for anybody, but just keep in mind that this light does have the extra power. That's now proven. The other thing is I noticed the white balance for the GVM 650B is fairly accurate. So the light's set to 5600 and the camera set to 5500, whereas the 600X was actually set to a little bit broader of a range. So it was just over 5000. So there's a slight color shift when it comes to the two lights, and it seems like the 650B is more accurate. Now there's a possibility my 600X is off a little bit because I've had it for a few years, but it's not a big deal. But for right now, the 650B is more color accurate. Now this is a very basic test. This is just like straight up, small room, no exterior lights, nothing need to match. This is an easy setup. That small difference in light might make a difference in somewhere where there's sunlight or light coming in, or you need to match interior lights or something else. You might run an issue, but it's not a huge difference and you can correct it in post. It's interesting to see these two lights right now because they both set up the same. They have the same basic materials, the same cabling, same style, and the light's actually very similar in terms of quality. Dollar for dollar, unless you need waterproofing and a nice case, the 650B might be the choice for you. Let's take a quick second and talk about the heads because they're both very simple designs as far as inputs go. Now the GVM head is a lot bigger than the 600. The majority of the weight in the GVM unit as a whole is in the head, so it's a lot bigger and a lot heavier. So you're gonna have a top heavy light with this one. The 600X is lighter and you're gonna have that smaller head and be able to get away with a little more because you're not so heavy, so high up. Now the backs have different connectors just because their cables are different. This one's a little more robust than the 600X because you get that locking pin connector that is waterproof. That's about it for the heads. Their chips are slightly different looking, and that just is the way they design it. This chipset has a little reflector-ish guy in the front that combines the light in a different way. And then on the GVM, you have more of a flat color, and it's just different technologies, but they both work relatively the same and they both produce great light. Here are the control units for each of the units. They both clamp onto stands with the clamps I showed you earlier. They both have double V mounts for battery power, and they both have power inputs as well as DMX and NDMX out. The big difference is the waterproofing on this, like we said before, and it has the input cable for the light on the top as opposed to the bottom. The Aputure comes with a nice braided handle, which is a little softer on the hands, but no big deal that you have a metal top on the GVM 600. They both have double dials in the front and their menu screens, and they have similar functionalities. Not much to talk about with these ones because they're almost the same. Another great reason to have a powerful light, another great test, is to see how your light performs as a room fill or a hard light coming in like sunlight. So for this test, I have my key light. It's a 60 watt light. It's just giving me that tungsten glow. That's my face that's lighting me. And then I have the 650B currently out in the hallway, and that's filling the room with fake sunlight. So if I turn it off, you'll see that it's actually creating a beautiful light coming in, and it kind of feels like sunlight. So both these lights are set to 3200, and I'm gonna have that warm look. Now this light, the 650B, is only set to 17.2%. So this is a controlled environment. There's not a ton of light coming in. So I have that ability here, but 17% is like more than enough for this right now. Because if I even go to 100, you can see that it's like extremely bright, and it could be like a big, bright, sunny day coming in, but I'd probably keep it low, same percentage wise, and leave it like this because it's just would probably look really nice and kind of like maybe like the early morning glow or an evening glow. I just swapped out the 650B for the 600X, and to me the light looks very similar. The light quality looks very good. Both these lights work great in this scenario, and I don't really have a winner for this. I don't really have a winner for either of them, except the 650B has a little more power, But then on the other side of the coin, the 600X has that waterproofing and extra toughness that you want in a robust light that you're going to be using day to day to day. Which light is right for you depends on your needs and depends on your budget. And it realistically depends on just what kind of projects you're working on. After using these lights for a couple days, I realized that they're both fantastic. The GVM is slightly brighter, but the 600X is waterproof. They both have great quality of light, and they're both, in essence, kind of the same. Now, there are differences, and whether you need it or not is entirely up to you. Is this light worth $1,000 more? It's kind of industry standard, but this light is almost just as good and has almost just as many features at half the price. What you decide is entirely up to you. I just hope you get to use one of these two lights for your future productions.